and my salutations to all of you. Before I begin, how many of you are new to Chinmay Mission? Wonderful. Thank you. So, the power of acceptance. So, I want to begin with a question. Are you ready to accept what I am going to say? Yes, no? Yes. Yes? You are free to say no also. I have accepted that you may accept my talk. I have accepted you may not accept my talk. I have accepted you may accept and not accept also. So the moment we accept, we are at peace. Most beautiful aspect of acceptance is peace. Do you think acceptance is equal to agreement? That's an important point to understand. That acceptance does not mean agreement. Because many people think, why should I accept? Suppose there is corruption in our country. Why should I accept? That doesn't mean I am agreeing that there has to be corruption is valid. But I have to accept there is. I have to accept that a certain person may not love me. Certain person may not respond to me the way I want. Even the positive aspects. So acceptance doesn't mean agreement. What exactly is acceptance? If we think, very simple definition of acceptance is acknowledgement of the fact of a situation, object or a person as it is. That is called acceptance. If there is traffic on the road, I have to just accept, means I have to acknowledge. Now I plan to reach here by 6:30. Couldn't reach. 5 o'clock we left from work. Still I am here at 7. There is traffic. What else can we do? I have to accept that there is. Acknowledgement of a fact, in simple words, is called as acceptance. And acceptance, once I have, then I can see what I have to do about it, if it requires some action. So acceptance is not equal to agreement. It is only acknowledging a fact that this is like this. Because when there is acceptance, then there is proactivity, when there is choice, many things open up. But if there is acceptance is not there, then there is reactivity. So many people think that acceptance means some passive resignation. Chalo, accept it, now what to do? It is not passive resignation. It is active recognition of the situation or the person or the object as it is, however it is. If this is understood very clearly, everything starts on the basis of acceptance. Any change also we want to bring about is only because of acceptance. If there is non-acceptance, I can bring about limited change. And it may not even be sustainable. But if there is an acceptance, okay, there is this much illiteracy in our country, this much poverty in our country, this much corruption in our country, I have accepted these facts. Now based on this is what the solution can be found. But if one is in a denial mode, in a non-acceptance, typically that happens so many times. In personal life also it happens. We may be going through phases of, let us say, extreme elation, extreme depression. It is sometimes in psychology it is called as bipolar syndrome. And many of us have in mild degrees. But if it is put like this, you are going through bipolar syndrome. No. Normal. A lot of our weaknesses we are not able to overcome because we are in a denial mode. I am not like this. Because there is some phobia associated with it, there is some psychological stigma associated with it. So acceptance is not a passive resignation. Okay, this is the way it is now, what else can I do? I have to accept it. It is not like that. It is active recognition that this is what is the situation, this is what is this person, or this is what is my condition, which then opens up so many factors in my life. And I can handle it. Acceptance again is not complacency. That once I accept it, then I do nothing about it. Many people think that non-agreement, non-acceptance is what is required to do something. And if you accept it, then you will not do anything about it. But that is a wrong notion. Because only if I accept a situation, then I can change and I can do something about it. So, acceptance does not go against change. So when we think that if I accept a situation, then I will not be able to change it. No, only if I accept it, I can change it. You think about it, in a person also, we want a person to change. But many times that person doesn't change. And the same thing, somebody else tells that person, and that person changes. Can somebody stand there and direct people to enter from? Because everybody's attention keeps going there. So, we were on that point that if there is acceptance, then change also will happen. Many times it happens, no? People come and tell us, Swamiji, if we tell no, they won't listen. But if you tell, they will listen. Or if his friends tell him, he will listen. But if I tell, he will not listen. You know, one of the reasons why that happens is because that person doesn't feel accepted. That person feels that, okay, they are only finding my faults. They are not accepting me as I don't want to change, I want to rebel against it. Or I don't want to, I have my freedom, I don't want to. But the same thing somebody else says, why is that person able to change? Because there is a higher level of acceptance there. That, you know, here is somebody who loves me or whom I feel has accepted me, and so I am happy to change. So acceptance always is a very important step for any change to be brought about, whether in individual life or in a social life, in the country, everywhere. So acceptance is not complacency, and acceptance is not against improvement or change. And acceptance is a very, very essential quality to face my life and also to achieve what I want, to make my life. In life there will be so many ups and downs which keep coming. To face life, one of the most essential qualities required is acceptance. I have to accept life as it comes. I can't fight. More of it as we go along we will see. That why is it so important to face life with acceptance? Because many times non-acceptance, our life just goes, we don't even realize that we have been not able to accept some simple facts of life also. Our conditioning also is like that, to think about it. For many small things, people get stressed, worried, depressed. Some people even end their lives. Why? The main reason is non-acceptance. Some percentage a student doesn't get. They will go into depression or they may even commit suicide. Why? Because I cannot accept what is the consequence. Consequence will be that I may not get admission in this particular university, and then because of that my qualification may not be well recognized and I may not get a job. How much the mind plays? Non-acceptance. So life is not worth living. One relationship, somebody has a heartbreak, non-acceptance. Is it not that in life these things will happen? So if there is acceptance in life that these are things going to happen, success is going to happen, it will come, failure will come. In success I don't get completely carried away, in failure I don't get completely depressed. That can come, that can happen to me, the balance can happen to me only when there is acceptance of life as it is. I may be very happy when I get success, but I don't have to go off balance. And I may be sad when I go through some disappointment, but again I don't have to be absolutely devastated. So that balance can come only when there is acceptance. And if I have understood this, that in facing life, acceptance is the very, very essential quality, even to make my life what I want to achieve. Acceptance is a very important quality. So we say that life as it is unpredictable. And the single most factor responsible to be happy in life is acceptance. And remember we said earlier, acceptance is not equal to agreement. It can be also, but it need not be. So if I have to be happy, so many times there will be unpredictable situations, life will not go as I have planned. Still, how can I be happy? Change being the very nature of life, many times I cannot foresee and I may find myself in a difficult situation. Even business-wise, if you see, so many times the businesses may become obsolete. So many products which we would have never thought that this can happen, but they are out. Some days back I read this article about HMT. At one point in time, Hindustan Machine Tools and the watch, it was a prestige to have an HMT watch. And they are coming to a closure. So when that article came in Economic Times, some people got together and they said, no, we have to revive it. This was the pride of India, and so now there is some revival plan happening for it. So many times it happens that life will be so unpredictable in both ways, positive way, negative way. How do I keep myself happy? Because that's the purpose or not. The main purpose why we do everything is, I want to be happy. How to be happy? If my idea is that only when these things happen, then I will be happy, then I will have few moments of happiness. Our Gurudev used to say that when we are very attached in life and we cannot accept life as it comes, then the main course of life is sorrow, and sukha or happiness is a chutney. Now and then you can drink it. But if there is acceptance in life, then the main course of life is happiness. In fact, we say all the 7 courses are happiness only, nothing else. Everything is happiness. Come what may, I am ready to accept. And that's how we see so many great masters. They live their life without conflict. In the same world where we are living, with all its difficulties and challenges, there are people who live quietly, happily, they have accepted. Forget great masters. You may say, no, they are very few and it is very rare to find such people and difficult to reach their state. Even in ordinary examples of life, not ordinary, but even in day-to-day life examples, you will see. There are so many people who are specially challenged. But they have accepted that state of theirs, and how beautifully they live. So many things they are able to achieve. Because acceptance is there. If they decided, they could have been completely devastated, saying, why this is happening to me? So what acceptance does to us is, it shifts our attention from why is this happening to me? Why me? One question keeps coming to everybody. Why me? If it happens to neighbor, it's okay, but why me? It is said that when a child is small, the child always asks the question to the mother. Mummy, tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Tell me why the sun is yellow, why the sky is blue, and why there is rain. Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. When that child becomes a teenager, the teenager says, Mom, why tell me? I know everything. One boy asked, when one boy was called by his father, says, Son, come, let's discuss about life. So the boy says, yes dad, tell me, what do you want to know? So when one becomes teenager, then one says, Mom, why tell me? As a child, one says, tell me why. As a teenager, one says, why tell me? And when we grow old, when we become adults, then we say, tell, why me? Why is this happening to me? So when I accept situation as it is or a person as it is, then from why me, the mind shifts to what should I do to face this? Both these will not happen. Why they will not happen? And how did this person do this? I can't believe. How did this person do this to me? Why also gone? How also gone? You say what next? How to handle this now? What can I do to handle this? So there is, acceptance brings that kind of a freedom. And really speaking, there is no choice in accepting or not accepting. When I don't accept something, it's only that I am resisting it for some time. Eventually I will have to accept. So acceptance is choiceless in life, but acceptance opens up lots of choices in life. So it is not a helpless state. Dr. Abdul Kalam could not become a pilot he wanted to become. He was also rejected like anybody. But then he fortunately had some satsang and Swami Shivanandaji met him. He met Swami Shivanandaji and that satsang gave him a different outlook altogether. And Swamiji told him, so what if you couldn't become a pilot? There may be greater things in store for you. Accept it. And second thing he said is defeat the defeatist in you. In each one of us there is a defeatist which keeps on telling us, you are not good enough. You can't achieve what you want. I don't think you have the capacity. You have tried so much but it's not happening. I think you should give up. Some part of the mind keeps on telling you. They defeat the defeatist. So unless that situation is not accepted, so he accepted the situation and so many things opened up after that. A lot of time we save when there is acceptance. Even for time management. Generally people give different other tips for time management which are necessary. But really speaking, time management is mind management. Now think about it. Today's life, as they gave the introduction, they said stress and worry and so many things are there. We have so much of work pressure. If I accept, yes, there is work pressure, then what will I do? I will only see how to prioritize, how to set things in such a way that I can work, I can deliver, I can be effective. But if I have a certain resistance in my mind, I don't know why this work keeps coming to me. And just because I am talented, all the more work has to come to me. Other people are not working. Why does the person not giving the work to them? I am only being given all the work. And I am in a denial mode or in a resisting mode. Then I am wasting my time. As it is, work pressure is there. And I am finding that time is not enough. In that now I sit and brood over this. Because I don't accept this situation. That why this has happened to me. One beautiful statement of Sadhu Vaswani is, the reward of service is more service. If I accept, if I am capable, I will be given more responsibility. I am not saying so keep quiet and keep on taking more than what one can do. But many times there is no choice. In that choiceless situation, if I accept, if this is my situation, work is there. That acceptance is choiceless, but then it opens up choices. So now what can I do? Can I start delegating? Can I manage my time better? Where can I cut out certain of my time? So many things I can do then. Instead of becoming a victim, I can live life as a master. So acceptance makes me take charge of my own life. And non-acceptance puts the control of my life in somebody else's hands. So we will always keep worrying that my life is not in my control. You know, this person is behaving like this. You know, my mother-in-law, she doesn't understand. My boss, because of that person, I am completely squashed under work pressure. What can I do? I am like this. So we victimize ourselves. And our Gurudev used to say, as Indians, we have one special excuse that nobody else has. And that is, Swamiji, that Shani is not in the right place. So now I have to wait for 7 years, still that Shani doesn't come from this house to other house. What can I do? My life is going to be like this only. In that also there is an acceptance. Chalo, I can't do anything. But that is not acceptance, please. That is complete defeatist mindset, victimized mindset. So how to know whether I am in an accepting mode or am I in a mode of complacency? How do I know? In a mode of acceptance, number one, there is peace. Number two, there is enthusiasm and proactivity. In a mode of complacency, there is resignation, victimization, inactivity, tension. Then I know this very clear difference. To speak in the language of Vedanta, acceptance is sattva guna, complacency is tamo. Whoever knows, you will know. The difference is, they appear the same. A person sitting quietly below the tree and even in one's own house, wherever, and doing meditation, and the person who is just sitting but his mind is wandering everywhere, or he is not even focused and is very dull and lazy, they look the same, but their whole mindset is different. One is sattvic, one is tamasic. So the person only will know whether it is a situation where I have accepted or I have just resigned and being complacent. So once I understand these different aspects, here is a very simple and nice video of our Gurudev, where he speaks about this, that unpredictable is the nature of life. It will have pairs of opposites. I have to just quietly bear through these with acceptance. Let us see.
So down there, Buddhi the Bete, son of Buddhi. It is only because of your contact, the right contact with the world outside, nothing wrong. In wrong contact that you get entangled with the world outside. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhada, all your experiences of heat and cold, Shitoshna, Sukha Dukkha, joy and sorrow are all in the way you contact the world. There are some people. It needs till hot, and you open the window. And they will go. You go on living around. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkha, or joy and sorrow, success and failure, loss and gain, is all by way of contact with it, that is various experiences. And then what am I to do then? I am here in this world. Agama Vayuno Anitya. These are all Agama Vayu. They come and go. One moment hot, another moment cold. If you go on complaining, you get continue. Today something is very windy. Oh, very cold. And the day before yesterday was saying that it's very hot. Summer has come, I think. Half an hour, that's all. Now today, just the opposite. Something very cold outside. Breeze. Heat and cold. You really, if you keep your ears open, it's wonderful to hear that one rain. No rain at all, no rain at all. And then there will be rain for 3 days. Swamiji. Rain my people, my father and mother, they don't care for me. All right, father and mother have landed. Some of you, they have landed, they are not going. They are not going, then they are going. Did the wife smiled? I don't know why she is smiling so much. Sixing the smile, why should she? I think she is grinning at me. Now she doesn't smile. It's all very tragic. She is not smiling at all. She must smile exactly the size that you expect her. Naturally, you are never happy. Because she is an independent lady. She has got her own ways of smiling. You should have asked her before marriage that you smile. Let me see. No, that is not the right kind of smile. You understand? Ignorant. All your own mental projections. Agama, Anitya, they are impermanent. They are never there the same. They are Agama, they come and go. Tam pictures of others. When they come to you, joys and sorrow, success and failure, tam them the pictures were suffer silent. Don't get perturbed by them. By the time you say that I am sick, you have to say that now I am all right. Last 2 days, you are sick, very sick and all that. So the third day I meet you and say, hey, how are you now? Why? I am all right. Hey, but you were very sick. Oh, that was last week. Now I am all right. Last week he was dying. And this week he is planning the next man. Haven't you? In your life also what? In your own silent heart have you what? Your friend cried and you went there for bereavement because his wife died. You went, you also went, he also went. Third week, you get an invitation card. My marriage is coming. Now when you go there, you don't know whether to weep or to smile. So you do both together. He comes and goes. And he tries to give you an explanation that it is not that I want to marry, but then the 2, 3 children, small children, to look after them. This is the best babysitter available. It's a very laughable if you keep on watching how people move from one to the other. These are not to be, should not waste your time in running up and down. When joy comes, you go beyond the clouds. When sorrow comes, you come crash down. No, keep your balance. Let them come and go. But every one of us will be ups and downs. If a piece of wood is in the sea will have always the waves, and the wood is, floating on the waters. Naturally, that wood will have to go up and down according to the rhythm of the waves. Isn't it? But the same waves, or in the same waves, is standing the lighthouse at the harbor. The waves come and break themselves at the feet of the lighthouse, but the lighthouse is not going up and down. Why? Lighthouse is not floating on the surface, but it is built on the foundation of the rock down below. Therefore, the light illumines the waves. The waves come and clash and die away. But the lighthouse stands steady. May you all learn to live like a lighthouse. In the tumultuous changes of situations and circumstances and the world of change and tossing situations in the world, learn to keep your balance. How? By building your life on firm foundation. When all of us are going to be floating in life, a little happiness, the mind, and next moment, and go on up and down. Agama, These are all impermanent. They come and go. No joy can permanently stay with you. No sorrow can permanently stay. Then what am I to do? Silently suffer. With dignity. With silent dignity, suffer them. Because you know they are not going to be permanent. They will go away. Agama Vainonitya Tam Tidiksha Svabhav. Hey Bharata Tam Tidiksha, suffer them silently with the dignity and the patience. They will not be permanent. And enjoy yourself that life. And do achieve what you want to achieve in life without getting knocked down by all these different experiences that come and go.
So beautiful clear. So he said our contact with the world is important. If our contact is proper, then we have no issue. If the contact is not proper, then that's where we suffer. So what is the attitude of right contact? That these will come and go. I have to accept them and keep my balance in spite of the ups and downs. That is the right contact. So now, if once we have understood this, we have to understand this aspect that there are three different types of people in this world. One are those who are escapists. This need not be person branded as an escapist, but this can apply even to situations. There are some situations where we just want to escape. We don't want to face. Then there are certain situations where we will resist. So there are some people who are resistors. They keep on resisting. Everything they will resist. And then there are situations, people who are acceptors. They will accept whatever is the situation, first I accept it as it is. If we have to summarize spiritual knowledge and spiritual evolution actually, what is the result of spiritual evolution is my capacity to accept life, people, things as it is. Because acceptance is on the firm foundation, as Gurudev said, like the lighthouse is on a firm foundation. So acceptance is a firm foundation based on my knowledge that life is like this. People will be different. People will not respond the way we want them to. Life will bring so many unpredictable things. That also requires detachment. So actually speaking, acceptance, the capacity to accept life as it is directly proportional to our capacity to practice detachment. The more attached we are, the less flexible we are. More difficult it is for us to accept life as it comes. And so, who knows these facts very clearly, who has imbibed these through one's reflection, through one's spiritual practices, made the mind free of the attachments, has expanded the mind. Spirituality is meant for that, to expand our mind so that we can accept life, people, things as they are. That's one of the criteria. So many people ask, what is the benchmark for spiritual progress? Like at the physical level, if you go to the gym, then the benchmark is there that okay, your stamina is increasing, the weight is reducing, the muscles are showing, and so many things. Benchmark is there. What is the benchmark of spiritual progress? Acceptance, which means less agitations, which means no complaints. These are so many practical aspects of acceptance. If I accept anything as it is, why will I be agitated and I keep complaining? People who resist, they keep complaining. People who are escapists, they keep complaining. But those who are people who accept, they don't complain. They say, okay, this has come. Now let us see how to handle it. With a smile, they can face it. So I always give these equations. Some of you have heard me, you know these equations. Two equations in life. One equation, is the equation for sorrow. This is a time-tested formula for sorrow. And you can apply it. And if you don't find it practical, money back guarantee. Try. Next 7 days, if you want to try, you can try. Sorrow is equal to insistence plus resistance. The more I insist that this has to be like this only, this person should behave like this only, the situation must be like this only, the tea must have the right combination, otherwise I don't like it. Gone. Insistence and resistance. That what has come, I don't like it, I don't want to handle it. So both these, they are sure formulas for sorrow. To the extent we are attached, to that extent we insist, to that extent is our sorrow. So in simple language, if somebody has to understand, a lot of people ask this question, Swamiji, we are householders, This attachment is very natural. We can't have detachment and all that. Why should we be detached? We will be attached only. So we say, very good, keep suffering. Because attachment is directly proportional to sorrow and suffering. What is? Why do I have to be detached in life? Because I want happiness. And happiness comes through acceptance. Happiness doesn't come by insistence. Doesn't mean that one cannot have a goal and work towards it. But there has to be an acceptance of whatever the result is. Insistence is when the result does not come, then I resist that. And then I get miserable. And that is the resistance. So this is the formula for sorrow. Now what about happiness? Acceptance plus independence. Both are actually based on each other. Insistence makes us resist also, and acceptance makes us independent. I don't have to depend on anybody after that. Once I accept a situation as it is, whether it is good or bad or indifferent, whatever it is, I accept it as it is, and I am independent. My response, I can choose what to do. One of my favorite PJs is, if your father is poor, it is your fate. But if your father-in-law is poor, it is your foolishness. So the point is, if I have learned to accept my life as it is, then I am independent. I can do what I want to do. There is no resignation in life, there is no complacency in life, there is no victimization. One becomes so free. So now let us see how this happens. In acceptance, the first thing that has to happen is self-acceptance. Before we accept people, situations, things around us, very important is accepting myself as I am. Self-acceptance, sometimes it is also called as self-love. In positive psychology, that's a very important concept. We should be able to love ourselves. Those who love themselves, they have a very healthy self-esteem about themselves. And they are able to face life also in a more balanced and a poised way. And they are able to spread happiness also around. But where that self-acceptance is not there, and self-condemnation comes in, then there is a non-acceptance in me about myself or about an aspect about myself. Then there is what we say. One feels low sometimes, one feels less confident, one feels, no, I am not, that inner strength is not there. One feels weak. If you think about it, what Bhagavan Shri Krishna did to Arjuna, the situation is still the same. Before the war, before the Gita, and after the Gita, situation was the same, that the war has to be fought. But Arjuna collapsed because his emotion overwhelmed him. And he started judging himself also. Saying that how can I kill my own kith and kin? How can I enjoy the pleasures stained by their blood? I will not like myself after doing that. What will people say? All that started. And when the whole knowledge of Gita was given to Arjuna, then what happened to him? Situation is still the same, but his entire attitude changed, that he was able to accept himself that I am a soldier. Why did I shift my identity from a soldier to a grandson and a student of a teacher and a relative of my kith and kin? Then the conflict started. He accepted the situation that yes, I am a soldier, I have to protect Dharma, and in fact I prepared myself for it. Now why should I back up? I am not fighting to gain the property. It's not a war for property, because we were ready to settle for whatever was being given to us or we were not given to us. One house was enough for us. We didn't even want the kingdom. But then it is about duty now. It is about me protecting Dharma. So the moment acceptance comes into life, self-condemnation and so many other aspects, the conflicts which we have about ourselves, they can be put aside. There may be some weaknesses in us, but acceptance makes me accept that also. So can I accept myself as I am with all my strengths and weaknesses? Self-acceptance doesn't mean become blind to the flaws. Self-acceptance means to accept myself as I am. That yes, I have these attachments, I have this anger, I have this weakness, plus I also have so many strengths. Completely I have to accept myself as I am. Typically we are taught to focus on what is the negative. And the whole upbringing is correction of faults. As though we are products, By keeping on correcting the fault, one thinks that one will improve. But the way in which it is done is very important. Is it done with acceptance or is it done with non-acceptance? That if somebody, even so many times you will see children, how do we tell them? That if you get the first rank, then you are a good student. If you don't, you are no good. Now, the person has started evaluating himself based on this. So, it is not about getting marked. Now, it is about his self-esteem also. So, the self-esteem goes up and down with it. So, if the mother wants to feed the child, and the child is running about, the mother will run about and finally catch the child and say, eat now. If you eat now, then you are a good boy. If you don't eat now, you will throw tantrum, you are a bad boy. So many times that happens. So the correction we need to get done in that person can be done with a more accepting way, in a more positive way, than in a way where the person feels not accepted. Where the person feels you are not adequate because of these flaws. That is a psychologically damaging way to correct. A positive way to correct would be you are good as you are. If you correct some of these, you can be more happier also. Then there is a lot of acceptance. So with all my strengths and weaknesses, if I am able to accept myself as I am, and am I able to love myself? A lot of suffering in life is because we don't love ourselves. So we are expecting others to validate. We are expecting others to tell me that you are a good person. You are a nice person. That's why dependency in relationship also happens. Because self-love is not enough. And spirituality doesn't say do not love yourself. That is one of the biggest wrong notions. That if you come to spirituality, you should not think about yourself at all. No. You should not think only about yourself. But I have to put myself, in fact, so much of spirituality is to make me aware of my own layers of personality which I didn't know earlier. Before I came to Vedanta, simple example, I didn't know that there is something called mind and intellect. Whoever knew that? Mind is a faculty of feeling, and intellect is a faculty of thinking, and there is a lot of dichotomy between these, a lot of time conflict between this, feeling and thinking. And then how to integrate the whole personality. So many things we didn't know. Vedanta made us aware of all that. Our own waking, dream, deep sleep state. Who knew that there is something called deep sleep state before we came to Vedanta? Though we go through it in every lecture, but we still don't know. That is called deep sleep. Some of you are experiencing it, that's why you are responding late. So Vedanta makes me aware of my own personality first, then I can transcend the personality. It is not about transcending the personality right from the first step. That don't think about yourself at all. Then I can't, if I am not happy, how will I make others happy? How to become happy? I have to learn to accept, I have to learn to love my own self. So if there is bitterness in my personality, I don't love myself, will people also be able to love me? No, because I am not expressing that self-love. I am always bitter. Somebody who constantly keeps on complaining all the time, very frustrated. Will a person have more friends? No, a person will have few friends in that situation. Why? Because they will get that type of people who keep on cribbing. So both cribbers will come together and keep cribbing. Then one may cry, no, there are other people, they don't bother about me, they don't love me. Because that is what I am attracting. If there is self-love within me, that can come only when there is complete acceptance. That yes, I am what I am. This is what I am right now. Which again does not mean I cannot change. Remember, we have spoken all this earlier. And if I accept myself as I am, yes, I have these difficulties. I can break out of that shell. I can remove those difficulties. I can overcome them. But with the healthy self-esteem that even if these are there, that doesn't mean I am a bad person, I am not lovable, I am unworthy. I am still a worthy person. So to the extent there is non-acceptance about us within ourselves, to that extent there will be non-acceptance of people and things around also. From the scripture, if I have to give you an example, Duryodhan and Yudhishthir, both of them went and they were given the exercise, find a bad person. And what did Duryodhan say? He went around the world and he said, everybody else is bad except me. All are bad people. There are no good people in this world. You can see only that much. But a person, Yudhishthir, he said everybody is good. Because the goodness, he is centered in that goodness. And he had accepted his flaws. 13 years when he was in exile, he spent 13 years in getting over the tendency of retaliation. You see, one big difference between Yudhishthir and Arjun is this. At 13 years when Yudhishthir spent, Arjun spent in getting missiles and acquiring divine weapons, etc. to fight to take the revenge. And Yudhishthir spent 13 years in forgiving. Whom? Himself first. That I had a weakness of gambling. I could not handle that. Second time also when I was invited, why did I have to go? And again, why did I have to put all these, my own brothers and wife and everybody on stake? You just imagine how much guilt that person must be having. 13 years he spent forgiving himself, getting over that. And as a result, he was able to forgive the Kauravas also. So on the day of the war, when the war became inevitable, he had no conflict because he is not fighting out of revenge and retaliation. His attachments are gone. He has forgiven himself, he has forgiven the others. Free. But Arjuna has not done that. So he collapsed. So to the extent there is non-acceptance in me about myself, there will be non-acceptance about people also. And we will keep wondering why this person is doing this. I don't like this person doing this. Non-acceptance will be there. Because there will be to that extent, if we examine, very powerful law of human mind is this, that we are able to see the negatives and we get affected by the negatives of the people because they exist in us. It's a very powerful law of the mind. That I find fault with somebody because that fault exists in me. For a long time, I was not able to understand that fact. I said, how is it that But then I found out that yeah, that is a fact. Otherwise we will see it only as a error, but psychologically we will not be disturbed. Simple example, if somebody comes late, it's a functional thing that okay, they came late and coming late is not appropriate. But then one gets very disturbed by it. I used to get disturbed by it. Then some introspection I did, and I found that I also have that tendency in me. That I also used to go late sometimes, and I have not accepted that tendency. So that notion, I was in a denial mode. I am on time, and maybe because of some reasons, yeah, I am late, so what? That's natural. So there is a denial mode, there is a non-acceptance of that tendency to be late. So then that is irritating when somebody else is late. But the moment I accepted that fact, not that the coming late is justified, but the agitation has stopped. Because I have accepted now that there is that flaw which is there in me. Same way with anger, same way with irritability, same way with so many other limitations. That when we find fault in somebody and get disturbed by it, it is also because that fault to some extent or the other exists in us. And secondly, we may not have accepted it. We may still be in some justification mode or a denial mode. So in self-acceptance, the Gita has a very powerful verse, very famous one. Many times you may have heard this, Uddharet Atmana Atmana. It's a very nice verse, I would like all of us to repeat. Please repeat after me. Uddharet Atmana Atmanam Natmanam Avasadaye Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhuhu Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. So he says, Uddharet Atmana Atmanam. Lift yourself by yourself. Na Atmanam Avasadaye. Don't condemn yourself. Why? Your mind is your best friend. Atmaiva Yatmano Bandhu. And your mind is your worst enemy. Atmaiva Ripuratmana. That mind which doesn't accept itself as it is our worst enemy. And that mind which has accepted everything is our best enemy. So self-condemnation, one of the greatest sins actually is self-condemnation. I don't have to beat myself up at all. It's not required. Even if I have made a mistake, I don't have to beat myself up for it. But we are taught like that. And if you don't beat yourself up for it, you will keep repeating the mistake. So beat yourself up for it. You must feel bad for it. I may feel bad for that mistake, but I don't have to feel bad for me, that I am a bad person. There's a difference. From the issue, it transfers to the person, which is not the right thing. In that issue, this was a mistake I did, yes. But otherwise, I am not a bad person because of this. And suppose we say that no, this mistake is very grave and the person is not even accepting, realizing, and the person is like that. Even then I have to accept, yes, this is the tendency of the person at the moment. So I can be careful. But I don't have to say it is bad. Like a tiger, if it kills, that's its nature. I don't say tiger is bad. But I can accept, okay, this is the nature of the tiger. So then I know how to protect myself or what should do and what not to do. So if there is a weakness in me or in somebody else, it can be objectively handled rather than subjectively condemning ourselves for it. So this is in the 6th chapter, a very, very beautiful verse. So in acceptance, these are different levels in self-acceptance. And 3 aspects are there. One is I have to learn to accept myself with my past. In past, we have done so many things. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, so many things. And we have no problem with the good things that we have done. Naturally. But we have a lot of problem with the mistakes or wrong things that we have done or people have done to me. Now, in self-acceptance, I have to learn to derive my right lessons and drop my regrets. Yes, okay, I made a mistake. Like I gave the example of Yudhishthira. He made a very, very grave mistake. Like that, Draupadi also made a mistake. Why did she have to make a taunt? That the son of a blind person is blind. That was not required. But she made it. So now, it's natural. We have always seen that to err is human and to forgive is... To err is human, to forgive is divine. But we should change that saying a bit. To err is human, to forgive also is human. That's very important. In self-acceptance, forgiveness plays a very big role. People who can forgive themselves can accommodate, can be compassionate. People who cannot forgive themselves cannot be compassionate to others. And that's why spiritual masters, they become embodiments of compassion. Why? Because they have also gone through all the weaknesses any human being goes through, and they have with great difficulty risen above all of them, purified their mind, and understood that these are weaknesses of the mind. The person is not like that. And so for a saint, even a sinner, so-called sinner, is not somebody to be rejected, condemned, etc. It's compassionate. Like the example which if you know, famous example of a saint who kept on attempting to get the scorpion out of the river. In the river, the scorpion was drowning, so the saint kept on trying to remove it out. And the scorpion kept stinging. Finally, he managed to pull the scorpion out. And somebody says, why did you do it when it is stinging? He said, if the scorpion doesn't leave its nature of biting and stinging, why should I leave my nature of saving and being compassionate? That's my nature. Very simple story, and sometimes it looks very idealistic also. But we can follow to whatever extent. We are not saying we keep on getting hurt and in trying to save people. Till we don't get that capacity of that saint where he never felt hurt and victimized, then his compassion is flowing. Same way, so when I learn to drop my past, I can forgive myself. Somebody did something to me. Maybe my brother did not understand me well and they created a partition in my family. Maybe my partner did not, he backstabbed me. Maybe my son did not listen to me and he went away from the home. So many things could have happened. I myself may have not behaved properly. So many things can happen. So to err is human. And I may keep regretting about it. And the sad part is the more I regret, lesson I don't learn. But the faster I learn to take the lesson in, this is what I should not have done and I must be careful about this. And I drop the incident. Second aspect is the present moment. I can learn to accept the present as it is when I pay more attention and I am not involved in assumptions. What is the fact and what is an opinion or an assumption? I should know clearly. So let us say 3 times you make a call to your spouse and the spouse doesn't lift the phone. The fact is that the spouse did not lift the phone 3 times. Maybe whatever reason she is busy or he is busy or whatever. Some reason may be there, maybe silent mode, whatever. So many reasons. But the assumption will be, before marriage, I used to wait for my call. Now, 3 times I am calling. They not bother us. Now that is my opinion. So many times we are caught in our own assumptions, in our own opinions, in our own ideas, and we are away from the fact. So we are not accepting the present as it is. We are living in some thought bubble. People keep saying, in paper you keep listening. This bubble burst, that bubble burst. Every time I listen to that, read that, I keep thinking there are lots of thought bubbles. Hope they all burst. We live in our own thought bubbles. And we are not seeing people as they are. So in the present, what are my assumptions here and now? If I pay attention, I can focus on that. And about the future, I can have the confidence that come what may, I can face it. I will accept as it is what comes in the future. I don't have to be anxious about it. If I have done the first two, if I have dropped my regrets, I have made myself strong, if I am able to live properly in the present, I don't have to worry about the future. Whatever will come, I have the capacity to accept it. I have the capacity to face it. I will not resign. I will not become a victim. So this self-acceptance makes a person so strong that then the person is able to accept other things. Now in our personality there is one more aspect which needs acceptance, and that is our emotions. So one of the beautiful lines of the Gita is Natvaham teshu te mai. They are in me, I am not in them. The emotions, they arise in me, in the mind. They stay in the mind, they dissolve in the mind. Just like right now we all are sitting here, the light is illuminating. Before we came, the light was there. Right now when we are here, the light is illuminating. When we go away also, the light will illuminate. And the light is never affected by what it illumines. In the same way, the fact actually is emotions come into us, they stay and they go. If I accept them, that yes, they are there. Right now anger is there in me. Right now love is there in me. Right now extreme elation is there. A lot of our energy goes in non-acceptance of emotion, especially the negative emotions. Why is anger arising? Especially Swamiji, there's some real problem I have. I don't think anybody else has. What? Now, when I sit in meditation, my mind brings such thoughts. I don't think such thoughts even in daytime, normal time. But such types of thoughts, angry thoughts, agitating thoughts, lusty thought, greedy thought, they all come that time only. And we have a conflict that I have been practicing. I am going to Chinmaya Mission, or I am going to so many other spiritual organizations, and I have been practicing. I read so many books, but still, they still come. So there is a conflict that why this is coming. I don't like this. I don't want these thoughts. There is a non-acceptance. And in psychology, the law is what you resist persists. Not only it persists, Vedanta says it gets strengthened. Because the resistance gives it a lot of validity. So if I accept that yes, at this moment there is an anger, that acceptance will reveal the cause to me by itself. That yes, this is the cause, this is the anger, this is my non-acceptance of this fact, that's why I am getting angry. That I wanted this person to talk in this way, but this person didn't talk in this way. Now I am angry at that person, and that incident keeps playing in my mind. If I have accepted that incident, if I have forgiven that person, if I have said, okay, it doesn't matter, chalo, let's drop it, I have sorted it out mentally. And still if it is coming, it's only because some force of habit it's coming. I should just watch, let it go. So if I have this attitude that they are in me, I am not in them. They come, they stay, they go. Let them go. That can happen only when there is a very strong sense of self-acceptance. That I am secure. Otherwise those negative thoughts make me feel insecure. Because we brand ourselves. If a thought of anger arises, we say, I am angry. Suppose I ask you a question. If a donkey comes here, will you sit on the donkey? Yes or no? No. Amaji, why are you even asking? Why is there a doubt? No, I am asking because in the external situation it's very easy. A donkey comes and we are not going to sit on the donkey and go. But in the internal situation we are doing that. Any thought which comes, we are jumping on it. Think. Thought of anger is coming. I am angry. Anger is a thought, it is coming and let it go. No, but if I am angry only, then it will come, no? But that's where I want to distance myself. Okay, anger is a thought. Because of non-acceptance of something. Let it pass. Slowly it will dissolve, it will not get strengthened. So emotions, when there is a non-acceptance of emotions, we live in conflict. But when there is an acceptance of emotion, whatever that emotion is, then emotion doesn't bind anymore. It is very objective after that. Then there are different other acceptance levels. Results. When results come to us, we may expect a result and work very hard for it, but we also have to accept the result. That yes, this has come. That is called prasada buddhi. That whatever result has come, let me accept it. If I need to correct something in my effort to get the result that I did not get, I must do that. Acceptance doesn't mean I cannot correct, I cannot improve. And situations. In Sanskrit we have a very nice saying, Agate swagatam kuryat gachantam na nivarayet. Take things as they come. Agate swagatam kuryat gachantam na nivarayet. When they go, don't stop them. That's what Gurudev said. Agamaha apaina. They will come and they will go. Success and failure will come and go. Heat and cold will come and go. Criticism and praise will come and go. When they come, welcome. When they go, bye-bye. Our problem is we do selective welcome and bye-bye. Like how we have in satsang. People come, welcome. They go, bye-bye. Nobody enforces them. Same thing if we do with situations. They come, welcome. And Gurudev always used to say it is like a, what do we say? It's the pairs of opposites, they come one after the other. So if heat has come, we say welcome. I know that it will not be hot forever. It will go. And when it goes, we say bye. But while it is there, I just bear it. Yes, this is it. Full stop. Otherwise we will get disturbed. So take situations as they come, leave them as they go. And now we come to people. Most difficult part of acceptance. After self-acceptance. Most difficult part actually self-acceptance. After that comes people. Then we are very easy, we find it very easy to accept so many other things. Do we expect a lemon to be very sweet? No. Do we expect a tiger will eat grass? No. We accept the trees, plants, birds as they are. We accept everything as it is. But as far as it comes to people, then to accept them we find it very difficult. Do you know why? One is because of our attachment, but other is because I know that I can change, so I want the other person also to change. Because the choice is there. Human being has a choice to change. A lemon cannot change itself to become sweet. A tiger cannot change itself to eat grass. But a human being can change. And so we expect that they should change. That's our expectation. So when people don't change, then we have a problem. So first thing to do is to accept the person as it is. What it does to me, then only I can understand the person. Because each person has come with their own karma and they are with us for a certain time span. They will not be there with us forever. And even if they are for the whole life, all the more need for me to accept. Because only when I accept and I understand the person, then I can adjust. Non-acceptance makes me inflexible. I can't adjust, there will be conflict. And today, that is happening so rampantly. One of the reasons, one of the beauties of our culture was the joint family system. Where the family system taught us to adapt, adjust, accept people. You may say it has its limitations, like that everything has its own limitations. But one very important aspect in acceptance of life and people was a joint family system. From joint family, now we have become nuclear family. From nuclear family, we have become atomic family. After that, we don't know, we will have proton family, neutron family. I don't know where all it will go, but that's what is happening. Meaning, I can't adjust. People don't want to marry, people don't want to live in family. Why? Because the adjusting capacity has reduced. Why has it reduced? Because my accepting capacity has reduced. Why is accepting capacity reduced? Because I have become more individual centered. I. The more I am able to accept people as they are, better will be my inner state of mind and I can relate to them appropriately. So when we accept, then we adjust and we are able to understand and not judge. So one beautiful line here is accept each other's faults and celebrate each other's differences. Why should everybody be like me or follow what I want them to follow? Let them have their independence and freedom. How so many times we say no that life, Swamiji, variety is the spice of life. But then people also, there is a variety of people. That's why life is so interesting. Imagine if everybody is like me, then painful situation. Because they are not like me, that's the beauty of life. I have to just learn how to tune up. These are subtle changes that spirituality does in our life, where it makes us more accepting. And how strange it is that people think that spirituality means rejecting. Reject everything and go away to a forest. Why? Spiritual ban gaya. Even if somebody retires that way to the forest, it's only because one has accepted the temporary nature of life, that life is temporary. And I want to discover that which is permanent within me. It is not out of escapism, it's not out of non-acceptance. I have accepted that yes, life is temporary. I have seen enough of life. I want to seek that which is permanent. So I am wanting exclusive attention for that pursuit. So I am withdrawing. That is true spirituality, which makes me accept life as it is. There is a beautiful example of a realized master in Vivek Chudamani. It's a composition of Shankaracharya, where he gives the example that a realized master is like a cracked pot. Very careful, huh? Cracked pot, not crackpot. People may think that realized master is a crackpot, but he is not a crackpot. Or she is not a crackpot. He is a cracked pot. Cracked pot means what? So the analogy is that the pot is there, and suppose we put water in it, then some milk is poured in it, then some curd is poured in it, then some orange juice is poured in it, and then some honey is poured in it. What will the mixture be? Terrible. Can't use it also. But if there is a hole in the pot, whatever we put in it, nothing remains. It keeps coming out. Pot remains empty as it is clean by itself. So that is the example of a cracked pot, is the example of a realized master, that the master has no attachments at all. Nothing creates an impression on the mind of that person. That person is able to accept everything and also let go. So acceptance and letting go, actually they go hand in hand. Beautiful qualities they are. And how we learn to accept life as it comes, by letting go of my insistence. To that extent I become so open. That person really enjoys life. In all the hues, that person enjoys life. But a person who is insistent can enjoy only few aspects. You just think about Jesus. On the cross, he can say that forgive them, they know not what they do. He never said, and he was not even crucified for a valid sin or a mistake or a valid reason. But he never said why. He accepted, okay, this is what has to be, it is, fine. So live like a cracked pot. Cracked pot does not hold anything itself. So in the Gita, a similar example given is that be an instrument, O Arjun. The more I look at myself as an instrument and I say I am empty, let the Lord work through me, that He is the doer, the more flexible I become. But more I insist this should be like this only, the more I suffer. So Arjun is told by Bhagavan that, oh Arjun, I have already killed all these people. Don't take up the burden of doership on your head and unnecessarily go through pressure and suffer in your life. Just be a nimitta, be an instrument and do the duty. And you will get all the credit that you won the war, you can enjoy everything, but know that the essential doer is me. So in the depth of spirituality, if we understand this, that the tool does not have to bother. The technician will use the tool for what is to be achieved. I have to only be a tool who is available in the hands of the technician. That's all. So if I accept that fact, that's the highest standpoint, and this has to be applied everywhere. Huh? Don't do wrong things and say, no, I was just an instrument. It applies everywhere. In all the situations of life, it applies that yes, this is a necessity, this is a higher understanding that I am only a tool, I am not the doer. Even if this satsang is happening right now, do you think it is one person's doing? It is not possible. So many people are doing it. So that totality is called Ishvara. Ishvara is not some form sitting up somewhere. The totality is Ishvara. So many factors have come together for this experience for us to happen. So we are mere instruments playing our small role, like a big machinery which has so many parts assembled. They all are working together. In that I am one instrument in this whole world. The more I understand that aspect, the more acceptance will be there. So how do I increase my acceptance practically now? First and foremost, I should drop my need to control. That there are two aspects in life, that certain things I can do and I expect and this must happen like this. But then there are certain things which I must allow them to happen. So again, giving the example of this talk, the organizers can only do certain things. They can publicize, they can arrange everything, they can make people aware, they can contact everybody. But then whether people will come or not, they cannot insist at all on that. They have to let that happen. And if so many of you are sitting here, you have come now. But if the person is not able to let go of that control, then the person will be disturbed. पता नहीं कौन आएगा, कितने लोग आएंगे, भरेगा, नहीं भरेगा तो क्या होगा? Mind gets disturbed. So we have to do what is our best. That Gurudev is to tell us this: do the best and leave the rest. That what is in our hands we should do, and then leave the rest. Don't take things personally. That's a very simple. It is simple statement, but so difficult to practice. Where it is not even intended personally, I take it personally. There was one person who was driving, a taxi person. He was driving his taxi, and suddenly on the road there was another car which just reversed without giving any signal or any alert or anything. He just reversed. So this person pressed the brake and he just happened to avoid the crash. And the taxi just stopped right in the nick of the time. That person kept on abusing him. What a fool you are. You can't drive slowly. You can't see I am coming. And this taxi fellow, he just smiled. And he waved him. He said, have a good day. And he went. So the passenger who was sitting there, he said, it was not even your fault. He did this reversing. He should have been more alert. And he was on that firing you. And you were still not getting disturbed and you just waved him. And I said, have a good day, and you went. He said, why did you do that? So he said, see, I understand one thing, that in life there are people who have lots and lots of frustration, pent up anger, so many things like that. And that garbage in the mind, keeps increasing, and they need somebody to dump it on. And I refuse to be that dump who takes that garbage. Why should I take the garbage of somebody else and then spread more garbage to other people? I understand they have difficulty. So what best can I do? I can only reciprocate positively to them. Thank you, have a good day. Relax. And so he went. Many times we do this, that somebody is irritated for some reason and maybe is not talking to us properly, gone. We take it personally. देखो, मेरे साथ भी ऐसे बात. If nobody else is talking, It's me only. Why can't we accept it positively, saying, good, that person is using me as a punching bag. No, but why only me as a punching bag and always me only? I don't want to be punching bag all the time. So many times it's not even personal, but the person takes it. My son doesn't listen to me. And the issue is not about my son not listening to me. The issue is my son did not listen to me. I said it and my son did not listen. And that's the problem. So taking things personally doesn't allow us to accept. Insistence and resistance we already saw. And last is step out of the judgmental mind. Let me get out of this mindset of constantly judging people. The more I am judgmental, the less accepting I can be. And vice versa. The more accepting I am, the less judgmental I will be. I will evaluate it only for that incident or that experience. I will not judge and brand, this is a person like this only. So these are different aspects of acceptance. And to practice this acceptance, it's very easy to say accept, accept, accept. But what is that foundation on which I must be able to lay my strong foundation? What should be the foundation on which I base my whole life? I take 5 more minutes. Acceptable to you. So 3 attitudes of the Gita are called acceptance attitudes, and most of us know it, so I don't have to elaborate much on it. First attitude is the attitude of karma, the law of cause and effect. That if there is something which has come to me, it has come because there is a cause. There is nothing random in this whole creation. There is a system and there is a harmony working. And there is a reason for it. If there is an effect, there has to be a cause. So if I am facing something at this point in time in my life, there must be some cause in the immediate past, remote past, or whenever. And I will not get something that I do not deserve. So if this has come to me because some karma I must have done, let me go through it in dignity. Why? So that's the attitude of karma. And vinaya. Vinaya means humility. Humbly let me go through it that this has come to me because of some past reason. And I should go through it quietly. If there is a possibility of change, yes, I can. That is my today's Purusharth. But that can happen only when I accept it. Second attitude is, if I am a devotee and I have that bhakti and samarpan, I can say that yes, whatever is happening by the grace of the Lord. I accept. Meera was sent the poison. She never said, why? No, Bhagavan, this is injustice. Come and protect me. She accepted. She drank. Prahlad never said, I am a victim of child abuse. No. He said, Bhagavan is there everywhere. He knows in his intelligence what is happening is happening. I accept. And he had no hatred for his father also. Because he said, if I am an instrument, he is also an instrument. That's the beauty of Nimitta Bhava. Not that I am only an instrument. That person also is an instrument. So he never took things personally. Because the bhakti made him accept that yes, this is how it is. And the third one is what we saw in the talk of Gurudev, that even this will pass away. Let this go on. It's a temporary phase. It is not going to last long. The faster I accept, the faster it will go. Non-acceptance will prolong it. So these are 3 different attitudes, that is Titiksha and Sakshibha, that I am uninvolved. I observe, it comes, it goes. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Through all the 3, any of these we can center ourselves in, or at different points in time. Sometimes it is not possible for me to accept, why did God do this to me? Then I say that, okay, there is karma, there is a cause and effect, and it must have come to me because of some past karma. Sometimes it is not possible to just watch and say that even this will pass away. I need some emotion support. And I say that this has happened by God's grace. He knows what is the best. Maybe He is making me stronger through this. So I accept it. So these are 3 different attitudes, and all these 3 attitudes we become rooted in these 3 attitudes if we are very clear about the goal of life. That my goal of life is to experience permanent happiness, which is my true nature. Call it moksha, call it God realization, call it anything. We all seek the same thing, the state of permanent happiness. And if that goal of life is clear, centered in that goal of my life, I can act in this world without getting disturbed, accepting whatever comes, because my idea is that this is the goal of my life. Like the example of the lighthouse. The lighthouse is able to guide so many boats because it is firmly established, and all the boats see the light and they are moving towards the shores. Same way the light is the goal of my life. When I understand that that is the goal, small little things I will be able to accept, that somebody did not smile, somebody did not behave, some result did not come. Okay, move on. I accept and move on. But if the life's goal is not clear, then small things I get stuck. So that's how the mind becomes very rigid. When the bigger picture is not there. In today's language they call it as keep the bigger picture in mind. Keep the macro picture in mind. So these are different ways of accepting life as it comes.
All good.
Now, as a practice of mantra to practice, two simple words in English, and that is I accept. And two simple words in Hindi, Srikar. Internally I have to tell myself, I accept. Now there is a movie called Passion of Christ, in which they show the crucifixion of Christ. So just before he is going to get crucified, they have put the thorn crown on his head and they are whipping him and he is dragging the cross and going. Now they are just about to erect the cross and crucify him on it. As they are going to do that, he just stops for a minute, he looks up and he says, Lord, my heart is ready. That dialogue in that movie is very, very powerful and touching. That very small dialogue it is. Lord, my heart is ready. And he goes, that this is going to happen, I am ready, I accept. No conflict at all in his mind. And then he goes into it. So in life, whatever comes, if I can tell myself, the more resistance is there in my mind, I can say to myself that I accept. Then whatever next has to happen will continue. So this is a simple mantra and we can learn to implement this in our small incidents. We called somebody, they didn't pick up the phone, we say accept. The maid did not come in the morning, I accept. Maid did not come. Don't say Swamiji, wrong. The flat where I stay also a maid comes and I stay alone by myself. Maid doesn't come, now what? Somebody did not do the work properly to the way it was supposed to be done. I accept, okay, this is what it is, now what next? So simple mantra, I accept, Svikar hai. The whole essence of this whole power of acceptance is, I accept. And that must be told to us, that we should tell ourselves again and again, I accept. So with that we stop. Thank you very much.